Hi, Mark here, and I trust you're well. This is a legacy recording of a live Lightroom support session that I hosted back in November 2022. The narrative was colour, and over a few weeks we looked into different ways of adjusting colour within your images. Now, most Monday evenings I host this live Lightroom support community, where over a semester, that's 12 to 16 weeks, we look at a narrative. So it could be the library module, it could be the develop module. And for the first hour of our time together, we look at a task within the workflow of that narrative. The second hour is all about support. There's a problem with this, how can I do that? Is there a better way of doing this? How can I speed up my workflow? And we help other Lightroom and Lightroom Classic users improve their skills, time and workflow. If you'd like to come and join us, just visit lightroommark.com. More information, lots of resources on my website. So thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed the recording, and without any further ado, let's jump across to Lightroom Classic. Happy photography. Bye for now. Okay, so tonight we're going to start looking at color for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and tonight we're going to look at changing color of a vehicle. And the image is in the cloud already. It's a VW transporter, and we're going to change the lower half of the color of the vehicle. And there's several ways we can do that, and a lot of this is we're building on some of the things that we've looked at before. So we're going to create layer masks or selections masks. Layer mask is a Photoshop term, but we're going to create a mask and change a part of the image. But I'm going to show you different ways, and then next week we're going to build on that and look at different ways of doing different things. And there is not one right way, because we take different photographs of different things and there are different colors, and there are different ways to not necessarily get the same effect, but you would apply it differently. So for example, a lot of time when we take a picture digitally, we expose for the highlights. So the image is slightly brighter. Therefore, the greens are really vivid. And a lot of people do lots of different things and so on to try and mute those greens. Well, I've found over the years, the easiest way is just go into the saturation panel in the color panel in saturation, and just bring down the yellows. And it takes that sharpness out of the greens. But it's not the only way to do it. There's lots of different ways to do it, and I wouldn't do it necessarily all the time. So let's show you a few different ways. Okay, so we have this wonderful vehicle. I think it's a T2, VW Transporter T2. We're going to turn it into a different color. And we're going to do this. Used to be in Photoshop. You used to create a layer mask and so on, and change the color. And as you can see, the reflections are all honored in that color. Okay, where historically in Lightroom, the reflections, the gradient of tonality wouldn't be preserved. So you could actually quite easily believe that was a green vehicle. So here's my image. Click on D for develop, and I'm just going to create a virtual copy. And so this is copy number 2. And there's lots of different ways that we can do this. But we're going to look at first what most people will do. And most people will just come to this and will either change the temperature, but we're changing the temperature globally of the whole image. Okay, And that's, people sit there and go, oh, right, that'll do. I've just changed it slightly, but that's totally wrong. We can come to our vibrance and saturation and make them pump a little bit more or a little bit less, but that's not what we're after in this case. And these are global settings, just changing these things. But we can come to the hue, saturation, and luminance. And hue is color. We can click on the pipette tool, the little tool at the side here, come to the color and just go down and go up. Okay. All I've done is where it says hue, the little tool at the side, I've clicked on the area and I'm dragging up and down. And what it's doing is it's changing the tonality in the color that's there. Okay. So we've gone to a beigey color because the red channel has gone up and the orange channel has gone down, and now gone pink color because resin. But if you look at the roof racks, okay, watch the roof racks changing color. These are global adjustments. It's doing it over the whole image. So if you look top left-hand corner, look at the red tiles in the building. All I'm doing is I'm going up and down. It's the whole image is changing. It's whatever spot I'm clicking on in color tonality is changing. Okay, and same if I do saturation. Okay. Much brighter. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Everyone get that?
Yeah.
What I've just shown you there is global adjustments. Okay. It's affecting the whole image, not just the side of the vehicle. Yeah. Now, you're gonna have to bear with me a bit if I make a mistake, because since all the new changes, I used to do things a long way. And I sat there this afternoon, I wrote it down, and I went, that's 15 stages. There must be new ways of doing this with the new tools and so on. And I've got it down now to 3 steps. So I've got my notes here. So I'm an old dog, and I'll learn new tricks. And I thought, oh, there's got to be an easy way of doing that. So we go to our mask tool like we normally would, and we can select the brush tool. This is one way I'm going to show you how to do it. And I'm going to make the brush really hard. So the density up to 100, the feather down to 0. And I'm just going to turn my overlay on so I can see it's green. And I'm just going to draw on, I'm just doing it loosely on the red. Okay. All right, I'm not really worried about going over. Now the reason why the flow and the density is 100, it's applying everything 100%. Wherever the cross is in the middle of the circle, I'm just above the 2 windows in the middle of the vehicle underneath the roof. Can you see there's a little cross in the middle of the screen?
Yeah.
Wherever that cross is inside that circle, so anything inside that circle is what it's going to apply inside the cross. So if I'm just going to bring the circle. Now I've put this cross back. You see it's a smaller circle. So it's a finer brush. If I open up the size, can you now see the cross is in the same place, but the circle's a lot bigger. So anywhere I touch with that cross, anything of that tonal value, or in this case color, will be selected inside that circle. Okay, so it's a bigger footprint. Yeah, and in this case I don't want a too big a footprint. Okay, and I've drawn round roughly the area. Now this is just one way to do this. Okay, I'm going to turn my overlay off. Okay, and I'm going to add myself a color range. Okay, I'm now going to say within that range, because I'm on this mask, within that mask, I'm going to select an area, quite a large area of tonal color. That's a color range. Okay, so the pipettes come up, I've clicked, I hold, and I draw a largish rectangle, making sure I've got a good variation of tonality in the area. Can you see I've got the reflection? So I've got the highlights of the reds, I've got the blacks of the red, and I've actually got the red itself in the bottom of the square, yeah?
Yeah.
Let go. I'm now going to turn my overlay back on so you see it. And we just wait. Oh. Okay, can you see now? All this is now, it's missed the wheels. Okay, it's come all the way around. Right, it's not on the roof rack. And look at this line. I went all over the line. Okay, it's all around here. Yeah, it's done me an auto mask. Now, there might be a little bit down the bottom here that I might want to take away. So I go subtract. I'm going to go brush, make it a nice small brush, 0 feather. And I'm just going to paint in down here. Just take the green away, which is my overlay. Oh, I've gone a bit too far on my overlay. Just take it away. Oh, a bit too much. So go add now. Add brush. Okay. All right. Undo, 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 undo. Okay. So if I was a bit better in the first place, let's go subtract. Let's zoom in. When it's come out of the tool, let's zoom in down here. Okay, so this will make it better. Now go back to the tool, click on the mask, show the mask. There's the mask. Can you see it's green underneath here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, turn the on, subtract, brush. Okay, so now my brush is really small. I'm making sure my circle does not go over the other green. Okay, I'm just taking this away. Right, so I'm just correcting it because this is the same tonality that's in the actual. There's a bit here in the light. I did see that earlier. There we go. There's a tiny bit there. And this is where I say, you know, this is where, you know, I'm not expecting people to spend 10 hours on an image. But when you get to doing an exhibition in London and people are paying 30,000 quid to do this work, or you've got a grant or something for that type of money, then you spend this time to do this. Yeah, and you get this bit right. Okay. But for the normal picture, I probably wouldn't have done this. Okay, so I've now got this is my selection. Okay, so I'm going to turn my overlay off, and now I've selected this area from the rest of the photograph. Okay, you can see my selections here. Okay, all right, and now I can bring the I can bring my exposure down. So I've now made it a burgundy. If I bring it down even more, I've made it black. I could increase it, so make it a lighter red. I could play with my temperature slider. Okay,
the sound off.
All right, and that's changing the color of the side of the car. Okay, I can. This is where a certain young lady with us wanted to know how I did this on all my clouds. So you created your selection. You can do that just by drawing with a brush. And now I'm changing the hue on the selection. Okay, and a mixture of, going to make it darker, going to make that green, this green of 91, I'm making it darker now, or I can make it lighter. Okay, I want to make the tonalities different, so I can play with this to my heart's desire. Okay.
Very good.
All right. So we did selections a few weeks ago, masks and selections. That's where you start to use it. Now, that's one way of doing it. Okay. We could use the selection, the object selection brush, rather than using, and I'll show you that in a second, we could use just the normal brush with auto masking turned on, which is why I explained about the circle and the cross, and we'll look at that in a minute. Okay. And these techniques you will use in different areas for different selections of areas in different photographs. Clouds are totally different. This is a solid piece of metal. Clouds got textures in them, so you'll probably use a brush, and you will just paint on a loose brush and add color. And we'll look at that in a later week. So shall we do this together?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, Helen. I think you're going to be rich tomorrow. So I've been told.
Payday.
Payday, yeah. Yeah. So no running out and buying ice cream in this weather, or a new bikini or something like that. It's too cold. Okay. So have we loaded the photo in, everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a photo in. Share the screen. Let's just find it. Sharing folder. Images. Okay, so in our Creative Cloud images, there's a folder dated today, and in there is the JPEG photograph. Okay, so if you just import that into Lightroom, copy it, import it into Lightroom. And when everyone's done that, we can go through it together. Okay, so you can see, this is the original on the left. This is why we create. Why do we create virtual copies? Answers on the screen.
You can compare, or you can go back to previous copies.
Yeah, there's more than one answer to the question, but I was looking for, compared to a snapshot, we can see them all side by side. Yeah, where a snapshot, you can only see one image at one time. It's that frozen moment of time that you're recording. Yeah, it's like writing in the old terminology, writing a document out, taking a photocopy of that document, putting it there, then writing again. You can always go back to the photocopy. Yeah, you don't add to the photocopy. You continue on the document that you're on. So, shall we all go through this together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you entering the gurning competition, Helen?
I am.
Is it called gurning? Where they put that horse's collar around? Is it called gurning or something like that? You were making some funny faces. Sorry if I'm just being rude.
Oh, taking the Michael.
Yeah, taking the Michael. Well, everyone takes the Michael out of me. Right, so let's share and let's do it together in real time. Okay, so Command D to deselect, and I'm going to go right click and create a virtual copy. So this will be copy number 3 for me. There's the image. So D for the develop. Shout if we're going too fast. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the basic panel and just literally change my white balance, and you can see the whole color of the image is changing. Okay, going to magenta and cyan. Okay, and you can do this but because it's JPEG, it hasn't got all the presets in. But you can use the pipette, click on something grey, mid-tone, and it will hopefully reset the white balance. Okay, so let's just put it back onto auto. We can use the vibrance. Vibrance is the mid-tones of light, so it's the exposure, and it increases the vibrance, the color saturation in those mid-tones, not in the darks or the whites. Okay, and you see the white is staying the same. Okay, saturation is the whole color range. Right, so it takes everything all the way. It takes all the color out, adds all the color in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Everyone got that?
Yeah.
Sue? Mrs. Peg, you got that? You there? You're on silent? What are you doing?
Sorry, I'd forgotten I was on mute. Yes, thank you.
Right, okay. So now we're going to come to the hue, saturation, and luminance or color panel. But we're going to, in this case, I'm going to click on the hue, saturation. If I click on color, you get the same. If color is the same interface as Lightroom, the mobile app, okay, and you get the points. The hue, saturation, and luminance is the legacy interface for Classic. So that's how it looks like in Lightroom on your mobile phone or your tablet, or in the Lightroom interface. You get the little bullet points of color and then hue, saturation, and luminance. Okay. So we want hue. Click on hue. Okay. Go to the little pipette tool. I'm going to click in the middle. And I'm just going down and up. But it's affecting the whole of the image. Okay, it's a global adjustment, that is. Okay, all we're doing tonight is looking at color change. We're not looking about making it stronger or lighter. Stronger is like dilution of squash. If you put more Ribena in, you know, the concentration of the Ribena is the same in the bottle of Ribena. Okay. But if you had less fruit in it, that would be like luminance looking through it. So, all right. So, but doing this, okay, using the pipette and clicking on the side of the vehicle, and I'm just sliding up and down. I'm clicking on a tonal value. And you click on another tonal value and change another color. But by using this little pipette tool, you're selecting the color that you're touching. Okay. Now you could, if you double click on the names, it resets them all. You could just use the red slider and change the reds. Okay. So we've now got a beigey orange by going 100%. Okay. You can go to the blue colors and change the blues. If you look at the windows, top right-hand corner, they've gone to a greeny color. Okay. And it's affecting that color. Right. But if you use the little pipette tool, the little tool, you're actually selecting the color that you're clicking on. Okay. So if I click on the wall at the background, that's a blue and a purple, that is. Okay. But it's affecting the whole of the image. Okay. Everyone got that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark, where are those files?
In Creative Cloud.
I can't find the Creative Cloud.
Okay, so go to Import.
Yeah.
Okay, so click on top left-hand corner, and you should have in your favorites where you've been before. So let me show you. Import. Okay, and if you click on your sources, you should have where you've been before, recents. And in there, so Creative Cloud sharing Lightroom Monday images. Unless you've imported billions of stuff since last week or whenever it was last, you were in it. You see that?
Yeah, it's coming up now.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in that Lightroom Monday, is it?
Yeah, under images, look for the folder. Today's date, so 7th, 11th, 2022.
Yeah. Okay.
Got it?
Thank you.
All right. All right. So everything we've done there is global. Okay. And is everyone happy about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
come on, ask away, because
So you're clicking on the pipette.
Yeah.
And dragging it over onto.
no, just click on the pipette, come over to the color, click on the color, and then while you're clicked on, slide up and down.
Okay, so you don't actually, I thought you were taking the pipette over onto the
You
fan.
click on the pipette, so you're selecting the tool, which is the pipette. So you
Yeah.
click on it. Then you don't have to click on anything on the tool again. You don't have to keep your finger on the button. Go and select the color that you want. And when you click on the color, then you go up and down, holding your finger on the mouse.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah, so you don't drag the pipette onto the picture.
No,
Right.
that's another pipette in another part of the tool.
Okay.
Right.
thought-
So that
thought you were
little
dragging
tool,
it
that little
over.
circle, you're going to click, you're selecting that tool. Okay. And then you don't keep your finger on the mouse, just click on the tool and then come across and select the area that you want. Then click on the color and then go, keeping your finger on the mouse, go up and down.
Okay.
Got it?
Mm-hmm. Thank
Go
you.
on.
Mm-hmm.
Going to show us?
No.
All right. So some pipettes or some tools like that, you click and you hold and you drag it across. I'll show you a little example of that in a minute. And that's to select a color and you want to preserve that color in that location. I'll show you a little bit later, or might be next week for that. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Okay. So go back to develop module. And I'm going to go to the selection tool. And I'm just going to use a brush, just a standard brush to start with. My feather is going to be 0. I want a hard brush. I'm just going to use something like a size of something like 10, 9, 10. My flow and my density will be 100. So it's going to apply one touch. It's 100%. And I'm just going to roughly, I'm going to turn my overlay on, show overlay, so I can see what, and I'm going to be careful, but I'm going to make sure that I get everything that's red. Okay, so I'm not being lazy. I'm just going around all the red. You know, I'm not too fussed if it goes over the wheels. Okay, but I'm not being too, you know, too sloppy or too lazy. Just going around and making sure that everything red is covered. Okay. Everything red is covered. And it's now got that solid green all the way around. Okay. And my color's green. If you press O, it'll change, turn the overlay off, overlay on. If you press Shift O, from memory, it changes the color of the overlay. Okay, that's the keyboard shortcut to do it. So there's another keyboard shortcut. O is to turn the overlay on, and the other way of doing it, the modern way, is if you click on the square, the color, the custom overlay. Here we go: red, green, orange. Red. All right, so they're the colors it's changing. You see that when I press Shift O. Okay, so it's changing red, green, white, and black. Okay, so O's the same as turning this little tick box off. Okay, can you see the little tick box is turned off? Show overlay. I'm pressing O on my keyboard. If I press Shift and O, it's gone white, black, red, green, white, black, red, green. Okay, that is the same as clicking on the overlay. Green, white, black, red, green, white, black. So it's cycling through those colors. Okay, that's Shift and O on the keyboard. Sometimes you'll need a black overlay. Sometimes you want a white overlay. You can change the opacity of that overlay. 100%, half of the percent. You can put a unique color. You can use a pipette and select, well, I'll have that color. Okay. Right, it's totally customizable. Every image you take will be different. Totally customizable. Okay.
Mhm.
Is everyone okay with that? Have we drawn in that on that red?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so where it says brush 1, click on the 3 dots, intersect mask with color range. So click on the dots, come across intersect mask, come across again, come down, color range. Okay. We got that, and it's put new color range in the mask. Okay. You see that on the screen?
Yep.
Right. Now, this is the important bit. We need to select a reasonable amount of area of red so we can turn off the overlay if we wish. So now we've got the red. We are telling Lightroom Classic what colors we want to affect. So we click, hold, and draw a largest square on the red. Okay, so I'm trying to take lots of areas of red, okay, but different tonality of red. So I was loose with my selection. Now I'm defining my selection by the color, not where I drew, by the color. Now I'm going to turn my overlay on. Boom, bingo. That's really tidied it up. There's a couple of little areas, tiny areas down the bottom and around on the headlight where the tonality is very similar to the reflection. And all I've done here is I've created a mask. I haven't done anything to it yet. I'm just telling Lightroom whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to do it to this area. Okay?
Yep.
Everyone okay with that?
Yep.
No,
So, no, who said no?
Joan.
Go on then.
Well, I've coloured
Share
it
your
in,
screen. Go
but
on,
I can't get my mask thing.
share your screen.
Hang on.
We're all friends here. We don't mind.
I shared the right thing.
Okay. Right, so you got inverts clicked on. Undo the invert, top right hand corner.
Hang on, let me move you out
In
the
the
way.
tool, in the tool, you got invert. Top right hand corner.
Oh, there.
Yeah, that's it, of the tool, right? So click on the mask. Okay, there's your color
Ah.
range. Okay, click on the color range.
I haven't got the colour range, Mark.
Okay, well, we'll do that in a second. So click on the, now bring your pipette across, come across to the color, come across to the image.
Oh, here.
That's it. Now, you might want to turn your overlay. That's it. Now come. Well, it's the first time you're doing it, so just press it. Okay, turn
Turn that off.
Okay, so try again. That's it. Right, now turn your overlay on. You can press O. Okay. Right, because now, did you see you've got a minus? If you see where it says color range,
Yeah,
you got minus.
there.
Yeah, because you had invert turned on.
Okay,
So you were taking it away from that selection.
right.
Not adding
okay.
it. So go to the 3 dots,
Yeah,
click, delete color range 1. Or you could have inverted it. So now go, click on mask. Click on it. Now come down to brush. Click on the 3 dots. Intersect with mask, color range. Okay. Now turn your overlay off, press O on the keyboard or click the button. Now bring that's it, and click and drag on the, that's it, let go. Turn your overlay on, press O or turn the screen. There you go.
Lovely.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Next.
Okay.
Sue,
No, I think I'm okay. Thank you.
you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to show us how to do it at the end. You're the guinea pig this week.
No, I can't because I'm not working on the. I'm working on a different screen. So I can't share. I can't share.
Yes, you can. Don't give me
I
that.
can't.
Okay, so now you've selected the overlay, but now we want to tidy it up. Okay, so on the color range, I'm highlighting the color range. I'm going to go subtract, and I'm going to use a brush. But I want to first zoom into the image. So I'm going to close my tool down, press space bar, then turn my tool back on. There must be another way around it.
Can you share your screen, Mark, please?
Oh, sorry. Let's come back out of the tool. Okay, so I've there's my mask. He says, click on it. Okay, so there's my mask, and I just want to tidy up round the bottom and round this headlight. Okay, all right. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just turn the tool off. I'm going to zoom in 100%. Okay, going to turn my tool on, go back in, show me overlay, and I'm going to subtract with a brush. I'm going to make my brush nice and small, making sure it's minus in the bottom. Press and hold my space bar. And without the circle going over the black, I'm just literally tidying up the green around the corners. The green around here. I'm just taking the mask away. I haven't done anything to it yet. This is just a mask. And I'm holding my space bar down. And I'm just coming around, just making sure. I'm going to come on the light. Okay. I'm just taking that brush away. There's a little tiny bit there. Hold my space bar down. That line's good enough for this image. Okay, and this is where you just spend a little bit of attention to get it right. And that'll do. There's a bit there. Okay, that will do. Okay. Okay, so then I'm going to come out and I'll go back to full screen. There must be a shortcut for it, but I don't know it. So now I've tidied up that mask. All right, so now it's just that side of that vehicle. So how about yourself? Have you got little bits that you want tidying up around the vehicle? It's a computer algorithm, so everyone's image will be totally different. When you select that box, it's telling that tonal range. Sue?
Yep. Thank you.
Joan?
Yeah, I think I'm getting there.
I think by John's expression, he's there.
Must try not to look smug.
Okay. So there is my mask selected. Okay. If I press Shift and O, changes the color. There's white. There's black. Okay. So now I'm going to turn my overlay off so I don't see my mask. Right. And now I'm going to sit there and go, right, well, what do I want to change it to? Again, do I want to put white icing on the cake? Do I want to put pink icing on my cake? You know, what do I want to do? So I could just change the exposure and bring that red down in value. So it's now a dark candy or burgundy red. Yeah, I could make it quite pinky. Okay, I've added a lot. Right. All I've done is I've adjusted the exposure. Okay, I could add some contrast to it and make it a bit richer, the red. Okay, by using clarity. Okay, these choices are yours. I could change the color. Right? I've changed it to a green, but I now want to make it a darker green. Yeah. I've changed the color. I've decreased the exposure. Make it a lighter green, more of a yellowy vivid, fluorescent, greeny yellow. Okay. All right. I could make it a bit more contrasting. The choice is yours. But I've only selected the area of the side of the van. And that is how you use the new tools with Lightroom to change color. But then we'll, in a second, when everyone's happy with that, we'll look at something else.
So what did the colour range actually do?
Color range is you're telling what color you want to select. And you're telling it a range of color by selecting the box.
Oh, yeah, got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
By clicking and dragging, you're selecting an area, a range of color that you want to affect. So in that side of that vehicle, you've got different tones of red because the light is affecting the shadow. The shadow's reflecting, so you're getting lighter and darker parts. So you want to include all that. So everything that's out, you're telling Lightroom, everything in that color range, keep to my selection. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that will tidy it up. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
This is just one way of selecting that area. We'll look at another way in a minute. Okay. But this is to me, I'm giving you a new tool here, the color range. Okay. All right. Exactly what you've just done there. Color. You can use a luminosity range, which is light and dark. So rather than taking color, you can say only affect whatever you're going to do to the light parts or the dark parts of the image. So those skills you've just done, rather than using color, you can use tonality of light and dark. So if it's the clouds, you can do a luminosity mask, draw it on there, that square, and say only affect the dark parts of the cloud. And you could introduce contrast or clarity or bring the exposure down. So you can select a cloud, use a luminosity mark. So it's exactly the same tools that you've just done, but rather than color, use luminosity. Draw that box on a cloud and bring down the exposure, but only in the highlights because you've drawn on the bright parts. That square, you've drawn on the bright parts of the cloud. Exactly the same tools, workflow. You're just using the light rather than color. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we'll look at that next week or the week after that one. Okay, so has everyone done that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you happy with that, Sue?
Yes, thank you.
So we'll look at another way of selecting now that side of the vehicle. Okay, so I'm just going to come back right to the bottom. Okay, so now there's several ways we could look at it. We could go to the brush tool, okay, and we can click on Auto Mask. Okay, all I'm doing is I'm showing you different tools, okay, and I want a nice hard brush, the feather 0, 100%, and all I'm doing now, will turn me overlay on, is I'm drawing on the red, okay. All I'm doing is drawing on, but the auto mask is turned on. So anything inside that circle, okay, that's that red. So I'm being quite careful towards the edges. Okay, it's like snapping to the edges. All right. But if I go over, that cross goes over onto the white, it will select the white. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another way. All right. So you have to be a little bit careful here now around these edges. It's like a magnet. All right. And that cross. All right. See, look, I've gone over the edge. So I would have to use a minus brush in a minute to take that away. All right. So this is another way, and I'm just physically drawing over the red and making sure anything in that circle that's red is being affected. All right. So you could come out of this might make it easier for people, come out going 100%, then go back, show your mask, click on it, right? Hold your space bar down and do it like this, right? So I'm now getting closer to the edge now because I'm closer on the vehicle, right? And I can see bits that I've missed, okay? And I'm just trying to go around on the red, okay? But I'm doing it by eye. See, that I didn't see any of this on the full screen, and that's got to be make sure. So I'm going to make my brush a bit bigger, right? Okay, but you can see. Can you? I don't know if you can see. Can you see all these dots here? All here, around in the middle of round the line of the shadow. These are tonal values, and because I haven't gone over those tonal values, they haven't been selected. And because I'm going over the areas, but they're not being selected because I haven't gone out. They are now. I haven't gone over the area, which is why I used the tools that I used before. All right. So to clean up this corner that I messed up by the wheel, you go select, minus or subtract, brush. The brush will have a minus in the middle. And whatever the minus is touching will take the mask away. Okay. Making sure I don't go over the red. So there's another way of creating a mask, right, for that area. All right.
Mm-hmm.
These masking tools, you will use different masks. There is not one tool to do one thing. There's loads of knives. They'll all cut stuff, but you'll use a different knife for bread, a different knife for meat, a different knife with your fork. They're all knives. These are all selection tools, and it's only by practice you'll get to know which one will give you the effect or make it easier for you. Okay. All right. So now what I was playing at this afternoon, I'm going to come back to the start of this image. I was the object tool. So object. So I'm going to go to the brush on the object tool now. And I'm just going to loosely, like I did in the first one. I don't know why it's red now. Why is the brush red? Okay, so it's done where I actually went. Not a bad job. Okay, let's change to green. Let's go add object brush. I'm going to bring the brush down in size. And it's going in red. I'll have to see how I can change the brush color. All right, and I'm just painting loosely like I was originally. All right, and hopefully show overlay. There we go. Done a pretty good job there. There's a couple of bits I missed, but it's selected the area. It's made the lines for me. So there's another way of doing it. Let's go back. Let's go object rectangle. So now I'm just going to draw a rectangle over the whole bit. Let's see what that's done. Show overlay. Actually, not too bad. So I'm going to go plus object, and I'm going to draw another red bit. See what happens there. Oh, I did subtract. So let's undo that one. So go add object rectangle plus, make sure I've got all the red. There we go. That's not done a too bad job, actually, of selection. Right, it's missed a bit here. There's a bit here that's been included. I could tidy it up, but I'm 90% the way there. So there's not one tool to use. It's what you're comfortable with. And I said time before, a good trainer is somebody that gives you the tools to work out what you want to do. Yeah? But for me, drawing a loose brush and then using the luminosity, the color range, okay, was the right tool for this. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone got that?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just see if I've got something I can quickly show you. Okay, as it's so this is an image from last week. It's the HDR version. So I'm going to use selection. Click on my selection tool. Oh, we've got lots of bits and pieces in here by the looks of it. So let's take these out. Okay, so there we go. Right, I'm going to use the sky selection tool. Okay, so let's have a look. Show my overlay. Why isn't it coming up? Why isn't it coming up? There we go. Show overlay. It's in white, that's why. There we go. So there's my overlay, okay. But now I'm going to add a interset with a luminosity range. Okay. So now I'm going to draw in the sky, in the light part of the sky. Okay, and it's going to work out, and there we go. It's worked out the lighter parts on this mask, the lighter parts of the sky. Everyone got that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll go back. So all I've done is gone select sky. The software has worked out what the sky is. Now I'm saying, if I turn the, I only want to affect, let's turn the over, I only want to affect the light parts of the sky. I don't want to affect the dark parts. I only want to affect the light parts, okay? All right. I don't want to bring down the highlights in the dark parts. I only want to bring the highlights down in the light parts of the sky. So I select the sky, select three dots, intercept mask with luminosity range. I've got my little tool. I'm going to show me over, and I'm just going to select a box. Right? I'm telling Lightroom the tonal values that I want to select in the sky. Not in the foreground, in the sky. And there's my mask. So now I can bring down the highlights, and I could change the color in the sky. I can make it a bit, yeah, change the color. Okay, the tonal value of the color that's in the sky. I could add color. Okay, I've added some red to the highlights. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just doing this to show you the effect. It's nothing what I would do, but I'm doing it to the highlights. All right. But I'm doing it to this white value and I can stretch out, make the areas a bit bigger if I wish, or a bit less defined. So if I go there, so I can adjust. And you see, I'm sliding this. I'm adding to it by going to the left, going to the right. I'm reducing it. Okay, the selection that is, yeah. And then I bring down my highlights, or I bring down my exposure to make it darker in that part. Okay, that's a luminosity. I'm doing it by light, not by color. Okay, could add a new mask, brush. Okay, make my brush a bit bigger, give it a little bit of a feather, and I'm just going to paint on the rocks down here. Okay, show my overlay. Okay, so I've painted down here, yeah? So now I'm going to intersect that with a luminosity range. Okay, I'm just going to draw on the dark bits. It's now selected, so it's now taken away the light bits of the sea and the light bits here. I'm going to make it a little bit darker. It's going to adjust the mask. And I might just want to bring the highlights, bring the exposure up on that dark parts. Don't want to affect the highlights, don't want to blow them out. I just want to bring out the darks. Perhaps I want to make them a bit grungy, a bit blacker, but I want to make them brighter. Okay? And that's what a luminosity mask is. Okay? Yeah? A luminosity. Thank you. Probably Duncan didn't know I was on a Zoom, and he got peed off with the internet being so slow. Even though we got the fastest you can get, he's gone and turned the router off. Probably knowing him. I've put a temporary cable in and wired him straight back to the router, and I've demonstrated on the screen. He's got 75 megabyte and 20 megabytes upload, and he still will accept that it's our end. He keeps blaming us. I said, you can't get any faster until we have full fiber, which will be in the next couple of months. And the whole world is playing FIFA on the Xbox. So occasionally he goes and resets the router, but I've got a patch panel. Going to have the lock turned on so they can't do it. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. Questions?
What is the feather?
Feather is the gradation. So inside the circle is 100%. That's the inner circle. The outer circle is it grades or feathers away, gradients away. So from the circle in the middle, that's all 100%. And then when you hit the circle to the outer circle, then it grades away. So the bigger that gap, the bigger the donut, the hole in the middle is the empty bit. Yeah, the bigger that donut, the bigger the feather, the more it naturally fades away.
Thank
And
you.
that's what your feather is. So when you're tidying up the mask, you want no feather at all. You want to be really hard pinch up, and you want when you apply the mask, you want 100% flow and 100% density and 0 feather. So that means you've got a really hard pencil, and where you're touching it works. But when you apply things, normally when you brush light on or brush color on or clarity, you want it to do it softly. So you would bring the feather down. You'd bring the feather up, the density down, and the flow down, so you stroke it on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And that's how I've been watching on Sky the watercolor paint, the landscape painters and so on. And what you think is one bit of brush it's 50 blooming brush strokes. So I've been learning all these things and bits and pieces and so on about how they do that. So, and that's exactly the same. You're painting with light and you're painting with color in Lightroom. In Lightroom, in your camera, you capture the ingredients, so the tonality and everything and so on. You bring them together, and then you nurture out those bits that you want to nurture out. Okay. Any questions?
No, thank you.
No. Okay.
So
we'll-
can you
Yeah.
just remind me how to force a backup of the catalogue?
Yeah. We'll do that in a second. Yeah. Any questions about tonight?
No.
No,
No?
not at this time, no.
Okay. So, backing up, as people will know, is really important. So, Lightroom is only backing up your catalog. It is not backing up your images. That is a totally separate thing. And your images are not stored in Lightroom. Okay. They're just referenced. They're just linked to where they are on the hard drive. So you need another workflow, whether that's Amazon Photo, Backblaze, or anything like that, where it uploads them. But to back up your catalog, you go to catalog settings, and down the bottom here, it will tell you what your backup procedure is for your catalog.
Where did you right click there to get that?
So Mac or PC?
PC.
PC's under File, Catalog Settings. Should be anyway.
No, I can't see catalogue settings.
Should be under, unless. Sure, it's under File, under Catalog Settings. Lightroom Classic.
I think it's just under Lightroom Classic.
Yeah, but that's on a Mac.
Ah,
I think it's different on a PC. Lightroom Classic PC. Catalog. Have a look under Edit.
Preferences. Catalogue settings, yes.
Yeah, under Edit. It's under Edit then. Okay. So click Catalog Settings,
Yeah,
and then there's that drop down. It says Backup,
yeah, got that.
and that's how you force. It says when Lightroom next exited, bottom one. Now, whatever it was on before, okay, so this case it's once a week is ticked.
Yeah.
When you click there, it will do the next time you close, but it will revert back to the one that was on there, which in my case was once a week.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So you're
Yeah.
just forcing it next time you do it.
Right, fine. Thank you.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. And
What should you have for the location, Mark?
okay, so this location here is the location of the catalog. Okay. So now we're going to quit Lightroom. Yeah. And it's going to force the backup. So this is where you change it if you want to change it from once a week to once a day and so on, and it will preserve that setting. Okay, so whatever it is there, that's what it will now do once a week in this case. This backup folder, this is where it's going, and this is the important bit. It wants to be on a separate drive to where your catalog is. So that could be a USB flash drive. It could be an external drive. It could actually be a folder on your drive already, but that folder is synced to the cloud somewhere. And the reason why is if that drive fails, you've lost your backup as well as your original catalog. So it needs to go to a third, somewhere where you can access it if that drive fails.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't think mine are going to the external from the external drive since I've changed it. So
Right, okay, so you click choose, and then you go and navigate to your drive where you want to put it. So in your case, you'll have LR backups and so on, etc., all on your external drive. Well, you should do. So in my case, mine are, if I'm in the right place. No, I'm not. So they will be there, 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 there. So all mine are here. And they go into the cloud here. Okay. And then what I then do is once I have one that's synced in the cloud, and then if I go to my network drive, because my network drive is in another part of the house, if this room burnt down, it'll be no good. The drive sitting next to the computer on a second drive, that drive's burnt down as well. Right?
Here's what I found.
This is now connecting to my network drive. We'll just wait a second or so. And this drive is underneath the stairs with my router and my patch panel and everything. So it's a separate building. He says, come on, connect. Might not want to connect. But I keep my backups in there. It's a 20 terabyte network drive. Okay. But they also go into the cloud. So I always have one in the cloud. My latest one is in the cloud, and then I move it to that drive. So, and then the next two tick boxes, it tests that everything's okay, and it optimizes it, and you just hit back up, and that's it, away you go.
So sorry, Mark, how do you save it to the cloud?
Well, you put it into a folder that is in the cloud. So it's Dropbox or OneDrive. So you choose a location. So here we go, Cloud Drive. It could go there. It could go into Adobe Creative Cloud. These are all folders that are set up within the Adobe Creative Cloud or Dropbox or iCloud or whatever. And anything that's in that folder is in the cloud. So you just tell it to put it in that folder. So this is, I don't use iCloud because I've got a 1 terabyte Microsoft account and I've got a 1 terabyte Adobe account. Why do I need to spend more money on a Apple iCloud account? I don't. So and neither the two cross. All my images and video are in Adobe. All my Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint are in my Microsoft one. And if I need to get access to anything, I can anywhere. So why do I need an iCloud one? But if there's my iCloud one, I could create a folder, call it LRC backup data, backup catalog. Okay, so there's the folder. I'll go back one. There's the folder, and it would just go into that folder, and it would sync in the cloud.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's all you do. So, but you could buy a little flash drive, you know, a little, as Davey was saying last week, a little tiny flash drive. That's, you know, 10, 20 quid. And just put it on that flash. Sorry?
Have told Father Christmas.
All right, okay. And just put it on that, you know, 128 gig little flash drive, 10 quid. Buy it from a reputable source, so Wex or Amazon, if you're buying it from Amazon, or go into Asda or Sainsbury's, they all sell them. An SD card will do, an old SD card, but just keep it somewhere safe, away from your computer and so on. That you've got it, so it doesn't matter. Does that help, John?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes.
Go on.
Since I had upgrades,
yeah,
I've had to go back to the old ones to pick up my files. Why?
You've had to go back to the old.
The upgrades came in, and then I could not get into my files on Lightroom, so I had to go back to the original to pick up my files off my external memories.
Well, the only thing I can think of, it didn't pick up the actual locations where they were stored. So did you do the conversion to version 12 catalog?
The conversion, when it came through, the new backup, the new version,
yeah,
that came in, and then suddenly I'm looking at an empty screen when I go into Lightroom. So I've got to then revert back to the last one to pick up my files.
Well, no, so you haven't got this structure here. You haven't got your in the folder structure. You
Yeah.
haven't got this.
Well,
Or was it just missing the images?
the actual files that I put on, downloaded from my external memories into Lightroom.
Yeah.
When the changeover came and the upgrades came, I couldn't find any of them. So I had to revert back to the original.
Right. Okay. So do you see the preview like this, and you're missing the
I
file?
can't see what you're actually doing, actually. I can't.
Right.
I
Okay.
can see what you are. Yes, what we're on at the moment.
Right, let me just.
But
Right. So do you get the folder structure like this on the left hand side? Whatever
I've
yours
got
would
that.
say?
I have picked up those since.
Yeah.
And I find it very difficult. I have actually started to be able to work on some of them.
Okay.
The one I haven't got is, but anyway, I've done that, but I'm on about my own files.
Yeah.
That I put on Lightroom.
Yeah. I get that. I get that.
And as soon as I get in, when that happened with the changeover, they were non-existent. So I had to go back to the last upgrade
Mhm.
to find them.
Sounds like you just created a new collection rather than converted the collection. So what I would do is go to your parent folder on the
Yeah.
drive and go right click and synchronize folder, and everything that's in the finder. So if I show you,
Let me do that. You say go back to the original.
so go back to what they call the parent, which is
Yeah.
here. Yeah. So you got hide parent, or you've got show parent folder.
Yeah.
Okay, so click on the parent, go right click, synchronize folder, and it will look in that location. So if I go to the finder I popped up, it will look, so you can see it says handouts. In Lightroom it says handouts, and now in
Yeah.
Finder it says handouts. And what it's doing, Lightroom is comparing what is in Lightroom and what is on the disk,
Okay.
and it will synchronize the two.
Right. Well, we'll try that out then.
Yeah. So I don't know from what you've said, is it the file that's missing, or is it actually this on the left hand side? Is it all this file structure, all the folders?
Yes, none of that comes up at all.
This all comes up under the folders, yeah?
When you open up,
Yeah.
and you've got your folders on the left.
Yeah.
And you open that up, and if you're in the new upgrades, there's nothing in there. If there is, it's all blacked out, and you can't find them.
Right.
You
If
change
it's
it
all
back to
blacked,
the
it's
original.
lost the link. It's
Yeah.
lost the link to the actual location of where the image is. So what I'm trying to understand is the catalog intact with all the information and it's lost the link to the image,
Yeah.
or is it you've just created a new catalog and you're starting from nothing?
No,
So-
what I did was just as soon as
The
the upgrade came in, and if I open up the Lightroom in the new upgrade, my files are not there. I go back to the last upgrade, and they're there.
Okay. So it sounds like it's just lost the link. So if you go to
Yeah.
your parent, right click sync, it will bring them all in. You may
I
need to.
will try that and see what goes.
You may need to, if we go here and go Command A, Control A, select all, and go to library, come down to previews,
Yeah.
and then build standard previews, and it'll build all these. These are previews, you see. These aren't the images, these are
No.
previews. Okay, and they are all in your catalog.
Right, I'll play around with that then.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So from what you described, that's my answer anyway. So Joan,
Do you want the easy one first?
I don't. What do you want? Easy one first. Go on then.
Can you upload videos
Yeah,
to collections?
yeah.
And do you have to do anything different or?
No.
Okay.
No. Lightroom and Lightroom Classic both support video. I I get a gut feeling that Premiere Rush, which is what I showed you in the summer, which is a slimmed down version of Premiere Pro, will be discontinued. In Lightroom, the mobile version, you can now edit a lot of video stuff, where in Classic, you can just trim it, rotate it. There are ways around. You can do little things in Classic, but it was not video. Mobile phones didn't have video when Classic came out. It was never designed for that. So, which is why we now start using Lightroom, because most videos are taken with your mobile phone. So you edit them on your mobile phone or your desktop, or you use the desktop client of Lightroom, which you all have, to edit them, and you use Classic as like a file manager tool. Now, the people that use mirrorless cameras to take video will use something like Premiere Pro or Final Cut and After Effects and so on to do their editing. It's a different game, shall we say. But you can manage them all, you can share them, you can do everything just like as a photograph in Classic and in Lightroom. But I would edit them in Lightroom.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question was, you showed us tonight how we can change colours.
Yeah.
And you've shown us before how we can remove objects.
Yeah.
Can we either superimpose or add something or change something?
That's a manipulation.
That's in.
Okay. Sorry, Tony?
That is in Photoshop.
That's Photoshop.
That is Photoshop.
That's a manipulation.
Do
Okay?
it regularly when I take group photographs.
That's
Ah.
a
Take half a dozen shots of a group, and you find one that's very nice, except for one person, and you've got to change their attitude on their face from one picture to another to make all the group looking good.
Lovely.
That's manipulation.
Yeah.
And that's in Photoshop.
Yeah, that's a Photoshop thing.
Okay.
Okay, so a lot of people have asked me, and Tony's heard this before, well, what's the difference between Lightroom and Photoshop? Lightroom is a catalog program. You can do multiple things to multiple images at one time, whether that's applying data, editing, you can sync all that information. For ease of conversation, you can't do that easily in Photoshop. Photoshop is a single image or video application. You do one thing at one time to one image, and it's not impossible, but it's difficult to synchronize a lot of things to do. You have to record actions and so on, etc. There are ways around it, but it's so much easier in Lightroom. Lightroom allows you as a digital asset management tool. So you allow to find all your images, share all your images and so on. But Lightroom is an editing program. You are editing, you're developing your images. Photoshop does all of that editing. It used to have a thing called Mini Bridge, which is similar to the library module, but it's no longer in there. You have to use Bridge, which is another program. But Photoshop is a manipulation, cutting things out, doing lots of things that Lightroom will not do. Put text on images, moving people around. Remember we did that puppet warping where we were moving people's arms and things like that? That's a manipulation. Creating content that's not there is a manipulation. It's not an editing. So
Right.
that's how I separate it. People can understand that. One's a manipulation tool and one's an editing tool and a digital asset management, a DAM. Digital asset management allows you to do multiple things to multiple images at one time, allows you to manage, share, and so on. And so you can do that in Bridge, but it's disjointed. So because Bridge and Photoshop are legacy products, Lightroom, yes, is a legacy, but it came along after Photoshop for photographers, and you have your portfolio of images.
Okay, thank you.
But so where's the difficult one?
That was it.
Oh, was it? All right, okay. So that's how I describe it. It's a manipulation tool. So if you want to, we can look in a couple of weeks' time how to, move something and cut something out or whatever on a Photoshop. Or even we could take a portrait and with what they call a layer mask, you can have two portraits sitting on top of each other, but one person's face is not smiling, and we can reveal the person's face in the photograph behind them that is smiling.
Okay.
Okay, so you sat there and gone click, click, smile, click, 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 smile, click, 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 and everyone's smiling except that one person. So what you do is you use Photoshop to auto align them, so it lines them all up, content aware fill, lines them all up, white to reveal, black to conceal. You just create a mask and then just paint white on it, and it reveals the picture behind what is white. What you paint white on it on the layer mask, okay, what is white gets revealed from the image behind, and the image behind is the person smiling. That's a manipulation. It's not an edit, and that's why Lightroom doesn't do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Sue, got a question?
No, thank you. Not at this moment.
All right, okay. I'm going to the post office at 8 o'clock, so give me till 8:45 tomorrow to get back. All right, okay, guys. So we'll do some more color next week. We'll look at the color gradation tool, and that's putting a gradient of color on a particular highlight, midtone, or shadow. And we'll look at something else in color as well. All right.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care. All the best.
Take care. Bye.
Night night.